Happy Saturday, everybody. How are you today? So, I was going through some of my papers, trying to reorganize again, and I came across some of the things from the country music magazine that we did back in Nashville. Just to let you know, I'm not just, you know, blowing smoke when I say we did have a country music magazine. It was actually the very first internet webzine on the internet. And because before then, it was what they called bulletin boards. So when we got to Nashville, we just decided to do this along with me trying to get a music career, which really didn't pan out, but that's okay. Um, this is the only copy, it's a little messed up, but this is the only copy, print copy of our magazine that I have kept. This was in 1997, and it was called Country Views, and it was always this logo, which is why I also have a second channel, which I really don't use much. And it was the name of my business name, which was Country Rose, which I don't do anymore. So, just to show you, I had a long editor's page. Our goal in Country Views was to present a positive view of country music because at the time there were so many critics who just seemed to enjoy tearing down country artists and tearing down, their characters, their albums. It was just really a really bad time, I thought. So when we decided to start this, and we did positive articles, we also concentrated on up and coming artists. Now, not many of those up and coming artists have really made it as far as back then. Um, as far as people that we interviewed, I can't really even think of one. Well, Mark Wills did okay. We interviewed him. We interviewed, see, people you don't even know. MC Potts, she never really made it. Fishbone Fred, he never made it. Sylvia, I interviewed her after her country music years when she was very popular. What a lovely, lovely lady she was. Went to her home, it was so beautiful, and just, covered so many things. Unfortunately, I have lost pretty much 99% of all the photos we took with the artists. When I was forced to leave Sevierville after my husband died, I was in such a bad frame of mind that I was just so devastated. I left so much behind. So this is just proof that we did have a country music magazine, and it was just a little bit of everything. Interviews, and we had seen Garth Brooks, and I did an article on him, and I met him briefly at the backstage at the Opry, and Trisha Yearwood, just a whole bunch of people, and John Barry, we saw him several times, and Martina McBride, coming to Martina, she's my absolute favorite female artist, so that was the magazine. And then in 99, we went to Fanfare, and this was my press pass. This badge is not a parking pass. So this was the badge that I had. Dave was the editor, and I was basically the writer of the whole magazine. This is my pride and joy, an autographed picture of Martina. Martina was pregnant with her first child, which we didn't know at the time when she saw this. I was going to the country radio seminar, and I was in the showcase watching the show, and Martina was sitting there. And I had asked her, would it be okay if I took a photo? And she said, fine. And then I saw her a year later doing a Christmas show at the Opry. And she came into the press room and she looked at me and she said, I remember you. And I just couldn't believe it. A year later, she remembered me and she signed this photo for me. So that was just amazing. So let's just see a few of the photos I was able to save from back then. Here is George Jones. He was doing um he was doing press for a new album that was coming out. So I took that picture of him. And I was at a fanfare party and got a picture with Leanne Rhymes. And really, those are the only ones I was able to save. I mean, this isn't me. This is a little friend that came with us, and that is Joe D. Messina when we went to a record release party for her. I think it was a number one party for her. So, yeah, the country music magazine was really cool. Like I've said before, we met so many artists, but most of them very, very briefly. You know, when you're in a press room, you don't really get to interact one on one with them, but you are in the room, and most people that I was interacted with, I was able to spend about 5 minutes with Garth Brooks. John Barry, we spent a lot of time with. Brian White, we went to a lot of his press conferences. Mark Wills, we took a tour of his bus and met him. Met Reba, very flashing, very quickly. We were at a skate shoot in Nashville, and uh, it breaks my heart because Barbara Mandrell was the host of the skeet shoot. Her entire family was there, and I had gotten a beautiful, beautiful photo of the entire family, all the sisters and the parents, and it was such a beautiful photo, and it's just lost forever. But even my Reba picture I left behind. Just so sad. But yeah. So that was the Country Views days. I think that's all I have. And then I came across some other things. Now, I've told people the story about how I won an audition to go to Nashville when we lived in Dallas to try out for the Charlie Daniels Talent Roundup, which was a talent show back then. I don't even remember what year. I probably was 90, 95 or 96. And Dave had taken this photo of me at the audition. Didn't I look different back then? I was a size 16 back then. And today I'm a size 22. Life happens, what can you do? So that was me at the audition for the Charlie Daniels Talent Roundup. And let's see what else is in here I can show you. Got a bunch of these. I had a bunch of these made up, and I sent them to family and friends, and because I was so proud of that audition, and so proud that they loved me and said, we would very much like to have you on our show, and it got canceled. And then this cool thing is I worked at the Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge very briefly, and this was a picture of me in my uniform. It was a very boring job. I really did not enjoy working there because what they had done was they put me in the very last room of the museum, and that is where the ship's bow is and the steering wheel, and I was a photographer. So I had to wait up there, and they put me on second shift. So I was there from like 5 to 11, and it was just horrible. That room was so eerie, and I just didn't feel comfortable there at all. And I guess with me being an empath, it was kind of hard because, we had actual artifacts of things from the Titanic. And I was right next to the room that had all the pictures of the deceased and the survivors. And I just found it very, very depressing. So I was only there for a couple of months, and then Dave passed away, and then I was forced to move out of my apartment by the landlord. So, yeah, that was that. This is a really old picture. This was my daddy's idol, Eddie Fisher. We saw him up in the Catskills in the 70s. And look how pretty I was back then. I was 125 pounds my entire life until I married my first husband very, very, very young. I was 19, just wasn't in a good headspace in the family at the time. And I got my first boyfriend, and he was Italian. So, and we went to his parents' house a lot, and they ate a lot of pasta and stuff. So I gone up to 150. Then I went on Weight Watchers, and it went back down to 118. And that's the weight I was when I met Dave, my second husband. And I don't really even count that first marriage very much because he was very physically abusive, and I was lucky to get out of there alive. So, and then of course I met Dave, and as I've said, I have been singing since I was 5 years old. Dave was so supportive of my singing. He even gave me some tips, and he's not even a singer, but it was just a wonderful marriage. He supported my singing so much. We would go out to the bars and do karaoke. He even tried to put a band together when we lived in Tucson, but that didn't really work out. And as I've said, I've always had to work full time. Dave became disabled in 90, oh wow, the late 80s. He became disabled. He actually worked at Old Tucson Studios, and he had fallen from a ledge down onto the railroad tracks. And from then on, he could never work again. So I've always had to work full time. And even though we moved to Nashville to try to, get a career in music, we found out how difficult it really is. I mean, you really have to dedicate yourself to it. And when you don't play instruments, I don't play any instruments. I don't read music. I've been basically a karaoke singer my entire life, because basically I just sing along to the records. And then when the karaoke tapes came along, I started, singing with those. And I did sing professionally a couple of times in Nashville. And way back then, I could remember all the words. And I knew probably practically every Reba song. And I had a greatest memory back then. And now I just don't. And now I've gotten used to the karaoke with the lyrics in front of me. So it doesn't even register. The words don't even register anymore. I have to have the words in front of me. But I sing very well a cappella if I want to. But anyhow, that's just a little history of Country Views magazine. I just wanted to show that to you because I was reminiscing, going through all of my papers and my photographs. And so, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little video. And I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Stay warm. We're expecting, they say, a foot of snow. It may not happen, but it's lightly snowing right now, so it's not bad. So anyhow, that is my story about the Country Views magazine that we had, Webzine, in Nashville. And I hope everybody has a great day. Take care. Bye.